And welcome back to the Financially Simple Experience. I'm your host, Justin Goodbread, and today we're going to talk about Santa. That's right. It's almost Christmas time, 2020. We want to all say, yeah, thank God. 2020 has been the year that we all want to get out of as fast as possible. I heard somebody the other day say, man, I hope 2021 is not like part two. Well, we'll see. We'll see. But, you know, it's almost Christmas. And every time about this time of year, we start seeing the man in the red suit, Santa Claus, everywhere around us. And so, you know, we dedicated this year's show to value growth, and we spent the last year and a half, 2 years on that subject. And I wanted to kind of dissect Santa's operation and look at what we, as business owners, can learn from Santa Claus. You're like, Justin, he's not real. Don't tell me that. Never know. Never know. No, I've thoroughly enjoyed a little bit of research for this episode. It's been kind of light for me to not have to dive too deep into the weeds, but nonetheless, it's a pretty interesting little episode I put together for us today. So we want to learn, what can Santa's operation teach us about value growth, about growing our company's value. Now, before we dive too deep into the weeds, you need to understand a few things. First, there's roughly about 2 billion with a B people in the world who Santa Claus could visit. Roughly about 2 billion people. Now, Justin, where do you extract these numbers from? Well, there's a lot of research out there, and that pulls out people who are not believing in Santa Claus. That pulls out certain parents, et cetera, et cetera. So that's about 2 billion people. If you understand there's 2 billion people, then we've got to do a little bit of history here on the fact that the Flying Santa originated around about 1929. Yeah, before then, you can go back in history and see where Santa, this idea of a person delivering presents on a sleigh, even in Scandinavia, was recorded being pulled by goats. Yeah, not Rudolph or Dasher or Dancer, Prancing, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, or Blitzen. Yeah, I nailed it, didn't I? You know, Rudolph is the oldest reindeer out of all of those. He was the very first reindeer, despite what the Christmas story that you hear of on the Disney movie. In fact, I still can remember the Abominable Snowman and the Lumberjack, which was played by Burl Ives, and I really like Burl Ives' voice. So that's one of those useless facts about my life. But despite, you know, Rudolph and the song, he was the oldest reindeer of all. You're like, Justin, you're wrong. Hey, prove me wrong. It's my story today. This is Santa Claus. But as we look at Santa's business, we look at the business of Santa, it's really got some amazing things that we can gather from Santa. So now, as you know, I look at business in 8 key areas. I look at it as a planning, leadership, sales and marketing, people, operations, finance, and legal. We tear a business apart to those 8 key areas because it helps us to dissect the weakest areas of our business. Now, when you look at Santa Claus and his 8 key areas of business, it gets very intriguing. So, for example, planning. Did you realize that Santa has to visit roughly 108 million houses, individual homes or houses, location, dwellings, roughly 108 million. In order to do that, he has to visit 1,250 households per second. Per second. He has to visit that many households per second. Now, I don't know how he gets down the chimney that fast, eats all the cookies and milk and scrambles, but he does. 1,250 households per second. He must travel just over 75 million miles, which means that his sleigh is moving at about 650 miles per second. Yes, 3,000 times the speed of sound. Santa is getting it. I mean, this guy is cruising. Now, you say, well, Justin, it's not impossible. Actually, it is. It had to travel 130 times more slowly than the speed of light, which is 300 million meters per second, or 669,600,000 miles per hour. Yeah, Santa's sleigh would have to average a whopping 5,083 miles per hour. But he does it. He does it. In order to drop the exact presents, he has to calculate so far in advance his path. Think about the planning that Santa has to do to deliver all the presents to the good little boys and girls, right? Maybe this is where UPS got the idea of the left-hand turn. You know, that's the idea that they say that we're only going to make right-hand turns. We're not going to go left against the grain of traffic, right? We're not going to go opposite. And what they say is on their research is, although it may be going opposite direction of the final destination, it reduces the chances of an accident and cuts delays caused by waiting for a gap in the traffic, which also waste fuel. So Santa has got to have a plan, an amazing plan in place that delivers his goods and services to all the people who are expecting his goods and services. You say, okay, Justin, that's planning. I get that. But what about leadership? Man, leadership. Santa is the CEO of his company, of Santa Inc. If you want to go look on it online, you can find out all sorts of information about Santa. Inside his organization, he does have presidents and vice presidents and managers and senior managers and department heads, but he's also got several different job classifications throughout the organization. He's got toy makers, designers, chefs, security, reindeer keepers, mechanics. Think about it. He's got to fix that sleigh. Warehousing, procurement and logistics, customer service operations, an air traffic controlling organization. I mean, they got to be able to make sure he doesn't hit any of our other planes in the air or satellites. He's got to have training and recruitment and even childcare for all the baby elves that are there on the site. So he's got an organization that's all laid out. Like, dude, that's amazing. And we're going to talk about his people here in a second, but he does have an organization. You say, well, Justin, okay, but he doesn't do any marketing. Contraire. Think about this. Santa's marketing is so good that you can identify the keys of his marketing. Here we go. Santa's reliable. We know that. He's going to be there every Christmas. He's reliable. He leaves you delighted. Now, you might not get exactly what you wanted, but look at all the smiles around the Christmas tree every morning. You have delighted. He encourages feedback. He actually asks you to write letters. You can actually go and drop him an envelope, a letter in the mail, and have it delivered to him. He rewards good behavior. Think about this. This is what we want to do with our own clients. If they do something that we like, we want to reward them. Like, Justin, that's weird. What are you talking about? Whenever we started scheduling with clients using our online scheduling system, which was a lot less labor intensive than using a phone call and calling back and forth. When clients began using that, we actually created a reward mechanism that incentivizes their actions. That's what Santa does. He rewards good behavior. He has a rock star team. We often talk about how powerful a team is to your business. Man, Santa's got a rock star team. And he's hyper niched. He's one of a kind. He doesn't try to be all things to all people. He is who he is, and he provides the goods and services at a particular time. I mean, hyper niched. And because of that, the whole world, for the most part, knows of Santa Claus. So let's talk about his people. Do you realize there's estimated roughly about 110,000 elves alone that are going to be working in 2020, Christmas of 2020. Roughly 110,000. That is a lot of mouths to feed. That's a lot of people. He is not running a company of 5 or 6 or 7. No, he's running a company that requires all sorts of things. Does he provide benefits? We're going to talk about that in his operations, but Santa does not provide pay. Not only does he provide pay, what he does instead is provide room and board. So we're going to talk about the legalities of that in just a second, but he does have unbelievable people. Look, he provides the quality product in the right time at the right particular action order. I mean, he's got an unbelievable delivery deadline, and his people are what allows him to do that. But behind the magic is this operations. The operations that he deals with. Think about this. He has electronics and plastics and edibles. He has all these different types of things that he's pushing through at various times. He has roughly a 364-day time frame to prepare for this massive exodus and dump of all this data points at one given time. He has quality control. He's got to be able to deal with it after the fact. He's got to make sure he gets the right presents to the right people. He's got to make sure he orders the right colors, the right shape, the right sizes. He's got to get it into the sleigh. He's got to have a coal factory for all the people, all the bad little boys and girls. He's got to have coal to give them. I mean, this guy has an organization that's moving logistically things all over the map. But let's think about this.
You've decided the pains of business ownership just aren't worth it anymore, and you want to sell. But can your personal finances support such a move? Heritage Investors Personal Wealth Management builds strategies that can prepare you for life after business. Learn about planning to meet your financial goals at heritageinvestor.com.
Let's say that the average present weighs roughly 2 pounds. Let's just say that's average. That means Santa's carrying roughly 321,000 tons tons, 321,000 tons on his sleigh. Now, 321,000 tons traveling at 650 miles per second creates an enormous air resistance. In fact, it's going to heat up the reindeer so fast, it's almost like a spaceship re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. So if you have two reindeer in the lead, each pulling roughly about 14.3 quintillion joules of energy per second, okay, basically the reindeer would simultaneously combust into flames. Santa is moving at 17,500 times greater than gravity. Yeah, that's some serious G's is what we call that. Some serious G's, in fact, is 4,315,000 pounds of force. That's an amazing system. Yet he still has his fat waistline. I don't know how he does that. I mean, he still keeps it all. I mean, just think about the food process that Santa has to have. I bet he's eating a ton of pineapple pizza. That's why he's gained weight. If you eat pineapple in your pizza, you gain weight. Every other pizza, you don't gain weight with. Just take my word on it. It's my opinion. Feel free to make it yours. But if you look at the operations, nonetheless, he realizes he has this enormous process to deliver at roughly where his body's going to deliver 4,315,000 pounds of force. He's got an unbelievable operation system. He's got it all delegated out. He knows his departments. He knows leaders of those departments. He trains those leaders in those departments. He lays out a clear objective on when he's going to accomplish the goal by and what the goal is and what satisfaction is, what a win is. If we look at finance, you realize that roughly the estimated toy cost is $24.3 billion. That's roughly $683 million in shipping. Just to feed the elves costs $78 million, and to provide them housing is $331 million. To buy the insurances for the elf is $468 million. The other insurance like liability and workman's comp and all that is $35.8 million. So he's spending roughly on this business $25.6 billion. With a B, $1 billion a year in expenses. He has to have one heck of a finance department that tracks all the ARs and APs. That's his finance department. How are you measuring up at this point? You're like, dude, Santa's a rock star. Yeah, that's what I thought the more I dug into this. And you start realizing that the 8 key areas of business do matter. But what about legal? Yeah, leave it to lawyers to screw things up. If you're a lawyer listening to this, you know it's the truth. The Suffolk Law School put together a guide on how to sue Santa Claus. Yep, you can actually sue him if you want to. And here's a couple of things that you might want to sue him over. You might want to sue him over intentional infliction of emotional distress. Think about it. If somebody wanted a G.I. Joe t-shirt and they didn't get it, that might be intentional infliction of emotional distress. Yep, you may sue Santa over that. Maybe it's the violation of child labor laws. I mean, after all, we talked about that Santa's elves are often young in age. Some of them could be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. We know that. Now, some of them may be a little older, but we could sue them for child labor laws. How about we could use the non-domestic animal rules? The use of non-domestic animals. That's right. They're using reindeer. Okay, we could sue him for trespassing. I mean, did you actually give Santa permission to come into your property? Did you actually give him permission? Think about it. Maybe you could sue him for theft. In our house, Santa gets pizza and a Coca-Cola Classic. Every year he eats a piece of pizza and Coca-Cola Classic. Maybe we could sue him for theft because, yeah, we put it out for him, but maybe we're going to put that out by the front door. Maybe it's for fraud or tax evasion. Look, Santa Claus has never filed any federal taxes or state taxes that we can find, and he certainly doesn't pay any franchise tax on his equipment. We know that. Maybe it could be fraud or tax evasion. Or what do we deal with speed, parking, or airspace violations? Yeah, he's breaking the sound barrier. That's actually an airspace violation, believe it or not. So there's lots of things that we could sue Santa Claus on. But here's what's interesting about it. Even though we could, Santa's got an ironclad legal team. His lawyers have prevented him for centuries now from having our lawyers across the United States and around the world from taking him down because of legal problems. If you look at the world of Santa and we say, okay, he does planning. Are you doing the planning that you need to do? You know, January's coming up and it's time for us business owners to begin our planning. My own company has already booked our location. We're going to go and have a strategic planning meeting as a whole company. We're actually conducting strategic planning meetings with dozens of clients nationally, walking them and making 2021 the best year ever. Have you booked your strategic planning meeting? If not, reach out to us. You go to financiallysimple.com, work with Justin, and we can talk about what we do there on that strategic planning meeting, how we can make 2021 the best year your company has ever had. Maybe it's leadership. Maybe you haven't focused on building the team that you need to build or bringing up to the level that you need to bring them up to. Now's the time. Reach out to us. We can help you. Maybe it's the sales and the marketing side of your business. You really don't know who your target is. You're trying to be all things to all people. If they can fog a mirror, you're going to work with them. You're not hyper niche like Santa is. Now's the time to reach out. We can help you with that. Maybe it's your people and your operations. Man, we spend so much time training business owners and practice managers and business managers how to operate a business. It allows the business owner to actually do what they're best at. We developed a program here where our team works with the business managers on a bi-weekly basis or every other week basis, and then other partners of our other colleagues within my organization come alongside and work with the business owner. With us, we're getting some supercharged effect in the business. We've seen the businesses pull out some amazing things in 2020 because of that approach. Now's the time for you to reach out. Maybe your finances or your legals is out of shambles, and you need to incorporate that to your total business plan, just like Santa did. Hey, reach out to us. It's Christmas time 2020. It's been a year. Man, it's been a year. But next year can be the best year, the absolute best year you and I have ever had in our business. It can be unbelievable. We can finish up 2021 saying, wow, what an amazing year we had, but it's not going to happen on accident unless you reach out and intentionally design it. Hey friends, I know it's a little bit levity today, but I hope you kind of get the idea that we have to do things on purpose. It's Christmas time. I'm so excited. I can't wait till next episode where I'm going to talk to you about some things that I've learned in 2020, share my heart a little bit. I don't often do that. I do more teaching, but I'm looking forward to having that conversation with you. Look, I realize life is hard. 2020 has been a tough year. Life is hard, but life is good. We are a blessed people, man. We are blessed beyond measure. Someone asked me yesterday, Justin, why do you say you are greatly blessed and highly favored, unbelievable love? They just asked me that yesterday in a text. Somebody say, hey, how are you? I say, I'm greatly blessed. I'm highly favored. I'm unbelievably loved, because that's who I am. I am blessed beyond measure, friends. I mean, I've been unbelievably blessed. And I'm favored amongst many. I mean, God himself says he favors us. And I'm unbelievable love. I have a family and I have friends that love me. That's amazing to me. I hope you can say the same thing. Look, I realize life is hard. Money doesn't have to be. Let's continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Hey, y'all go out and make it a great day. This tip is for informational purposes only. Please speak with a competent financial advisor regarding your specific needs. Justin Goodbread is a registered investment advisor with Heritage Investors. Visit heritageinvestor.com, financiallysimple.com for additional information.